Amazing. So on that kind of legal casework aspect, you mentioned the NUPFC case. Maybe you could tell us a bit more about that and what it means for foster care workers, what it means to be in a union.
Right, so the NUPFC case has been gaining a lot of traction in social media and whatnot recently. A lot of talk going on about the case, so it's a good one to sort of break down. Mm-hmm. So the NUPFC case is about trade union rights for foster care workers. And the NUPFC, the National Union of Professional Foster Carers, is an organization that's seeking to be registered by the government as a trade union solely for foster carers. Okay. Now, there's a requirement in the law that says that a trade union must consist mainly or wholly of workers. And what that really means is workers or employees. But a majority of the members have to be workers. Now, the NUPFC tried to register with the certification officer, which is the government body that regulates trade unions. And the certification officer looked at those cases from the Court of Appeal of England and Wales that I mentioned earlier and said, well, these cases say that foster carers aren't workers, so we can't register you as a trade union.
Okay.
Now, the certification officer asked NUPFC if there was evidence of their members being different from the foster carers that were the subject of those earlier Court of Appeal decisions, and they didn't provide any evidence of that, but it became a sort of case about whether foster carers in general have contracts and are workers. So the NUPFC appealed against that decision, and then it went to the Employment Appeal Tribunal, and at that stage, because it started to be viewed as a test case for worker status for foster care workers, a number of different organizations got involved in the case as interveners, which means even though they aren't a party, they can be part of the litigation and present legal arguments. So the Department for Education intervened to make arguments against the right of the trade union to exist. The local government association intervened to make arguments against the right to exist. The IWGB intervened to make arguments in favor, but our argument was based on the European Convention on Human Rights, Article 11 of which provides for the right to join and form trade unions for the protection of one's interests. So our argument mainly was whether they have a contract or not, whether they're workers or not in UK law, because of the convention, they should still have the right to unionize. Okay. And then the European Children's Rights Unit of the University of Liverpool, which is an organization that advocates for children's rights, also intervened in the case. And this is important, in support of the right of foster carers to unionize and making arguments about how a unionized foster care workforce would be beneficial for the children in care.
Very true. So
we all got involved in this. We all presented legal arguments. Now, the NUPFC lost the case, but in part, the Employment Appeal Tribunal really had no choice because they weren't given evidence to suggest that foster care worker members of that organization were different to the Court of Appeal cases. And in terms of the hierarchy of the courts, the Court of Appeal is above the Employment Appeal Tribunal. So the Employment Appeal Tribunal has to follow the decisions of the Court of Appeal. They have no choice unless they can say somehow this case is different, right? So it wasn't a big surprise. We're sort of going through the motions because the case really needs to get to the Supreme Court. We were disappointed that our convention arguments lost. We think that was the wrong decision in law. But the NUPFC has now applied to the Court of Appeal for permission to appeal.
Great.
Again, the Court of Appeal will have to follow its earlier decisions on the topic, but we'll have a decent shot at the European Convention on Human Rights arguments. And in any case, this case won't be resolved until the Supreme Court looks at it.
Right.
So that's what that case is about. It doesn't mean that foster care workers can't join unions, because the requirement is that the union not consist of a majority of people who are not workers. So a foster care worker can join any union as long as a majority of the members of that union are workers.